Let's move on now to France, where a resident who was denied citizenship because she wore the niqab or face veil has told Press TV that she's been treated unfairly by the state. In her first TV interview since her story made worldwide headlines, she told Press TV's Naima Boutelja that she only wants to be treated like her husband and 4 children, all of whom are French nationals.
Press TV went to La Verrière, a district in the southeast of Paris, to meet the person at the center of France's latest Muslim controversy. We wanted to find out more about the woman who, according to the French authorities, never welcomes anyone to her home. Faiza Silmi, a 32-year-old mother of 4, has been denied French nationality for her alleged radical practice of Islam. But when we arrived, she warmly received both myself and Press TV cameraman Jean. This, while her husband remained in the kitchen preparing some delicious Moroccan tea.
I applied for French nationality to have the same status as my husband and my kids. I thought it would be right because my husband was born in France, in Paris. My children, all 4 of them, are also born in France. I just wanted to have the same nationality as my family, and since I'm living in France with all my family here, I just wanted to be like the rest of them. That's all.
We spoke to State Council representatives about Mrs. Silmi's case, and although we weren't allowed to record their response, they were very keen to reassure us that their ruling was not an attack on Muslims. They also insisted the face veil was only one of the factors taken into account in rejecting her citizenship application. According to the ruling, Mrs. Silmi presents a deficiency of assimilation because she has adopted a radical practice of the religion, she never received anyone at home, and she hasn't adopted the Republican values.
What is striking about this case is that it adds itself to numerous other cases. There is not a single week or fortnight that goes by when an issue somehow related to Islam is not making the news headlines. This in itself is an event. As regards to the legal decision, it's extremely serious, and it unfortunately aggravates an already extremely Islamophobic climate within French society.
Faiza's case was brought to light by the daily French newspaper Le Monde. But the journalist who wrote the story didn't even bother to speak to Faiza to allow her to respond to the State Council's conclusions.
The journalists from Le Monde who wrote the story about my case said I was submissive to my husband. Well, that's just not true at all.
Do you wear the niqab from your own choice?
Exactly. They said that I wasn't wearing it when I was in Morocco, which is not true. They said that it was my husband who forced me to wear it just after we got married. It's amazing. It's not true at all.
L'autre n'a jamais de visage.
What most characterizes this type of affair is that nobody ever sees the faces of the people concerned. With this woman who wears the niqab, the only journalist who interviewed her was from the New York Times and the Herald Tribune. Not one single French journalist went to see her to ask for her thoughts.
In assessing her assimilation to French values, such as gender equality, official documents show the authorities went as far as checking the gender of Mrs. Silmi's gynecologist.
I had an appointment with 2 female officials at the offices of the local authorities. During the interview, they asked me to unveil myself, so I removed my veil from my face and hair. We were at ease and everything was going fine. They were asking me questions and I was answering them. But after 10 to 15 minutes, a man entered the room and claimed he was looking for a file. I was shocked and I didn't know what to do. But my husband and I didn't react at all. We thought it was an accident. In fact, it was planned, because on the report they sent us, they wrote that they had done it purposely to see my husband's reaction. And this really hurt me. I trusted them.
Fouad Imran, a veteran Muslim rights campaigner, is concerned at the ruling's effect.
As in the case of the ban on displaying religious symbols in schools that began in March 2004, the risk with this decision is that we could witness an increasing amount of Islamophobic acts. We are likely to see individuals who, because they are civil servants holding some kind of position of power, will now consider themselves perfectly within their rights to discriminate and marginalize all Muslims in any type of situation who appear visible from a religious point of view.
In the situation of a social and economic crisis with high unemployment, the Arabs and the Muslims often belong to the poorest segment of the population. They are perceived as those who threaten salaries, those who are the most dependent on social security, and so on. So they are the easy scapegoat. It's better to have the Muslims as scapegoats, instead of members on the board of directors of big multinationals who earn fantastic dividends, but whom no one dares to attack. They want to transform what are essentially social struggles in France into ethnico-religious struggles.
Well, we're joined in the studio now by Naima Boutelja, who conducted that interview with Faiza Silmi. Naima, thanks for coming in today. You spent the day with Faiza Silmi. In your opinion, do you think that she has failed to integrate into French society? And if so, was the decision to deny her citizenship, was it a legitimate one?
No, I don't think the decision to deny her citizenship was legitimate at all. I think what the State Council have been saying is that she presents a deficiency of assimilation, and the way the law explains this concept is that you have to have to master French language, and the report clearly states that her French is completely fluent, and then the second notion with this deficiency of assimilation is that you have to be assimilated into French values. Now, how do you define that? How do you define what being French person is? How do you define French values? I'm a French citizen, in my case. I was born and raised in France, and I probably don't live like the great majority of French people, but there are a lot of people who are in my case, such as traditional Jew, traditional Christian, and even some French anarchists. So, and I've spent like the whole day with Faiza and her husband, and what was very striking is how warm they were, and they welcome us very well. I mean, she drives a car, she has both Muslims and non-Muslim friends.
So basically she's not as presented in the media, and she's very angry with the media for supposedly misreporting her story. Does that go on a lot in France?
Well, yeah, but it's not specific to Muslims-related issues. You know very well we are both journalists, and we know very well the constraint of modern journalism, the primacy given to sensationalist stories, the fact that very often there is a collusion between the ruling elites and the journalists, and also the background of journalists, especially in France, who are predominantly coming from white middle-class background. It's not specific to Muslims, but I think what the French journalist from Le Monde did was extremely bad.
It was extremely bad. All right, thank you very much for joining us today, Naima.